So let's get straight into this top 20 power forwards of all time. I'm going to quickly go through 20 through 11, and then I'll go more in depth in the top 10. But for number 20, I have Amar'e Stoudemire. Also played center a little bit, but mainly a power forward. Number 19, I have Jerry Lucas. At number 18, I have Dave DeBusschere, if I'm saying that name right. Number 17, LaMarcus Aldridge, really underrated player. Number 16, Dennis Rodman. Just ahead of him, number 15, Draymond Green, who I feel like just was overall better player, especially offensively, than Dennis Rodman. Number 14, Chris Bosh. Number 13, Chris Webber. Number 12, Pau Gasol, another player that played center, but was mainly a power forward back in his heyday. And number 11, Dolph Schayes. And going right into the top 10, starting at number 10, I have Kevin McHale. Kevin McHale played mainly during the 80s for the Celtics during that little run that they had going back and forth with the Lakers. He is a three-time champion, only played 13 seasons, was on the first All-NBA first team once throughout his career. That was his only All-NBA team selection ever. Was a really good defensive player though, making 6 All-Defensive teams. He averaged 17.9 points per game, 7.3 rebounds, and 1.7 assists. A really good winner, a good rebounder, a good defender, and a solid scorer for a really good Celtics team back in the 80s. At number 9, I have Elvin Hayes. Elvin Hayes played earlier, his career starting back in 1968. He played 16 seasons, made the All-Star game 12 times throughout his career, was a 3-time All-NBA first team player. He averaged 21 points per game, 12.5 rebounds per game, 1.8 assists per game. So he was a good scorer, a really good rebounder, and he did win a ring early in his career. Elvin Hayes, I feel like, was a little better than Kevin McHale, just a better scorer, better rebounder overall. So I have Elvin Hayes here at number 9. At number 8, I have Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis won that championship back in 2020 with LeBron. Still has probably a couple more good seasons throughout left in his career. He's played 13 thus far. Has made the All-Star game 10 times throughout his career. It's arguable that he should have won the Finals MVP back in 2020 with LeBron, but they both had a really good series. So again, it's debatable if he should have an MVP or not, Finals MVP or not. Throughout his career so far, he's averaged 24.1 points per game, 10.7 rebounds, and 2.6 assists. A really good scorer, a really good all-around player, great defender, and still has time throughout his career to maybe go up this ladder a little more. But for now, I have him here at number 8. At number 7, I have Charles Barkley. Now, before I go on about Charles Barkley and why I have him here at number 7, I will say, with power forwards, for me, 2 through 7 is a toss-up. Like, all these guys are really, really close for me in my all-time rankings. If you had Charles Barkley at the number 2 spot as the second best power forward of all time, I wouldn't be terribly mad at it. I would disagree, but 2 through 7 is really that close. All these guys, they're not good enough to be considered the best power forward of all time, but they're no worse than the 7th. I think they're clearly better than guys like Anthony Davis, Elvin Hayes. But just to let y'all know, the next 6 guys here are really, really close. But I have Charles Barkley here at number 7. Big part of that is he never did win a ring. But he was a really good player. He did win an MVP, which is big. Made 11 All-NBA teams. Never made an All-Defensive team, but he was a better defender than I think people give him credit for. Throughout his career, he averaged 22.1 points per game, 11.7 rebounds, and 3.9 assists. And for his size, he was a really, really good rebounder. Hence why he gets his nickname. Charles Barkley here at number 7. At number 6, I have Dirk Nowitzki, just ahead of Charles Barkley. He did win a ring, which was big. He had 21 NBA seasons throughout his career. He had a long career. Was a even MVP and a Finals MVP, which is another big thing that, Charles Barkley had the MVP, but he did not have a Finals, obviously, and therefore doesn't have a Finals MVP. Dirk Nowitzki throughout his career averaged 20.7 points per game, 7.5 rebounds, 2.4 assists. Wasn't the best defender, wasn't the best rebounder for his size, but he was a really, really good scorer at the power forward position, and he did lead his team to one of the more impressive NBA championship runs we've seen with the Mavericks back in 2011. So Dirk Nowitzki I think well-deserved, lands here at number 6. And just ahead of him at number 5, I have Kevin Garnett. Now, Kevin Garnett and Dirk Nowitzki were really close to rank. Both have a championship. Both had 21 NBA seasons played. Playoffs appearances, All-Star games were pretty much the same. All-NBA teams were the same. All-NBA team totals were the same, basically. They both have an MVP. Dirk Nowitzki does have the Finals MVP. But for me, Kevin Garnett's defensive impact, making 9 all-defensive first teams and 12 all-defensive teams total, and was Defensive Player of the Year, and was the 4-time rebounding leader. He edges it out for me, going right ahead of Dirk. Just because of the defensive prowess, he was a much better two-way player. He averaged 17.8 points per game throughout his career, 10 rebounds per game, and 3.7 assists per game. So Dirk Nowitzki, obviously the better offensive player, but literally everything else, Kevin Garnett beats him in. So that's why I have Kevin Garnett just ahead of Dirk Nowitzki at number 5. At number 4, I might get a lot of flack for this. I have Bob Pettit at number 4. Now, Bob Pettit only played 11 seasons throughout his career. He made the All-Star game 11 times, though, throughout his career. He played back in the, you say, plumber days, back in the 1950s even, and the 1960s. But for me, it's always, do you dominate your era? And I feel like Bob Pettit did. Even though it was a short career, he did dominate his era when back in his day. He was the NBA champion, 2-time season MVP, which they didn't even award those till like a year or two in his career. So that's something to also keep in mind. Made the All-NBA first team 10 times throughout his 11 seasons. Talk about dominant. He averaged 26.4 points per game throughout his career, 16.2 rebounds, and 3 assists. I get it if people are not going to be high on Bob Pettit for playing in his era, but also just the shorter career in general. But for me, he dominated his, yes, short, and yes, maybe the competition wasn't as great back then, but he was given the same opportunities as all those other players, and he dominated the league regardless of the competition that he faced. So I have Bob Pettit here at number 4. Just ahead of him at number 3, I have Karl Malone. Now, it was really close for me, Karl Malone at 2 or 3. For me, he just never won a championship, which does hurt him. He played 19 NBA seasons, was a 2-time season MVP, which is big. He didn't do it once, he did it twice, which is really big. That's why I have him ahead of some of these guys like Dirk Nowitzki, like Kevin Garnett, because he has those 2 MVPs to his name. He had 11 All-NBA first-team selections, 25 points per game throughout his career, which is really impressive considering he played almost 20 years. So a really good scorer, 10.1 rebounds per game, 3.6 assists per game. Karl Malone, despite, off the court, whatever you think of him as a person, that's not for me to give input on. I'm making a list about power forwards, and on the court, Karl Malone, to me, is the 3rd best power forward of all time. At number 2, again, I feel like this might be an unpopular opinion. I have Giannis Antetokounmpo already. And maybe it's a little premature, but for me, he has things over guys like Karl Malone, like the NBA championship and the Finals MVP. And he has 2 MVPs to go with that. And then also he has things over guys like Dirk Nowitzki, Kevin Garnett, is that he's just a much better overall player. And for me, at this point in his career, if he retired today, I think Giannis Antetokounmpo, even though a shorter career, I think he would have the better career than guys like Kevin Garnett, like Charles Barkley, like Karl Malone. He's played only 12 seasons so far, so he has probably a good couple more years to his name. He's a 2-time MVP, Finals MVP, good defender, good offensive player, 1 Defensive Player of the Year. So far throughout his career, he's averaged 23.9 points per game, 9.9 rebounds, 5 assists per game. An all-around really good player. They call him the Greek Freak for a reason. He's really skilled for his size. And if you give him a lane going downhill, he's going to score because he's so big, because he's so strong, because he's so long. It maybe it's premature to put him here at number 2, but I think he's the 2nd best power forward of all time. Do I think he'll ever be the best power forward of all time? Probably not, unless he goes on a mini dynasty of his own with the Bucks or another team. But for now, Giannis here at number 2. Let me know down below in the comment section if you think this is too high for Giannis Antetokounmpo. And at number 1, it's no surprise, Not just because I'm a Spurs fan, but because I'm an NBA fan with knowledge, and it's just clear as day, Tim Duncan is still the best power forward of all time. Some people would like to say, oh, he played center a lot. He played power forward throughout the majority of his career. Even when like David Robinson was on the team, Tim played the 4. And then even later in his career, like he would have Thiago Splitter play the 5 and he would play the 4. So to me, Tim Duncan is clearly a power forward. 5-time NBA champion, which no other power forward on this list is even like close to that. 5-time NBA champion, played 19 seasons, so he had a long career. Made the playoffs 18 times out of 19. He missed the playoffs once throughout his career. 15 All-Star games, 2-time MVP, 3-time Finals MVP, arguably should have won a 4th back in 2014 or even 2007. Whether you disagree or agree with that, it's debatable to me. 10 All-NBA first-team selections, 15 total selections, 8 all-defensive first teams, 15 all-defensive teams total. So not only was he a good offensive player, but he was a really good defensive player too. He never won Defensive Player of the Year, which I feel like was kind of weird, considering how good he was for so long, but never won a Defensive Player of the Year award. 19 points per game throughout his career, 10.8 rebounds per game, 3 assists, 2.2 blocks per game. Tim Duncan, the big fundamental, he's not the flashiest guy, but he quietly had one of the best careers of any NBA player of all time. Not just power forward, just any player ever. And for me, this is the thing that I'll end on. What really hurts as a Spurs fan is like if Tim Duncan and the Spurs won 2013, if Ray Allen didn't hit that shot, if the Spurs just didn't choke that Game 6 where the security was already coming out because the Spurs were up. They were up by 5 with like 30 seconds left. If they hadn't choked that game away, and let's say they also won in 2014, what would we be saying about Tim Duncan? He would then be 6 for 6 in the finals, just like Michael Jordan. He would probably have another Finals MVP to his name, which would be one of the most ever. One of the best two-way players of all time. It pains me for that reason, and just for the Spurs losing that 2013 Finals is still heartbreaking to this day. Let me know down in the comment section below if the Spurs won in 2013, and assuming they won it 2014 again, and Tim Duncan was the Finals MVP in one of those seasons, one of those championship runs, would Tim Duncan, like where would he be all time? Because 6 for 6, we say that with Michael Jordan a lot, 6 for 6 in the finals, Tim Duncan would have that. And while being one of the best two-way players ever. I don't know. Let me know down below what you think about that. And let me know what you think about this list total. I will do centers. I've done every other position. If you want to go check those videos out, you can go check them out. And after I do the centers video, I will do an all-time ranking, probably like the top 100 NBA players of all time. Probably not me commentating on it, but just like a video where you'll see 100, 99, 98, all the way to 1. So let me know if you want to see that. Let me know what you disagree with, agree with down in the comment section below. Any thoughts, insights? I'd love to hear from you guys.